Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you for part 2 of the best albums of 2021 video. And like I said, this is for part 2 of the best albums of 2021 video. I do want to apologize for my last video because there was a bit of distractions and background noises in the last part. So hopefully this part will be a little bit better. So I'm going to discuss from 53 to whatever number I get to in this part and let you know what I think of these next albums that I'm going to talk about on the rest of this list. So let's dive into this part 2 video. At number 53 is Sion, or Scion, I meant to say, was the self-titled album. Now, I haven't really returned to this album as much, but I did enjoy, uh, what's his name? His screams in the vocals. I know his name, but I can't remember it. You'll have to go check out my album review for it, because I do mention it in the video. Howard Jones. That's what it is. Howard Jones. I just remembered at the last moment. But yeah, Howard Jones did a very good job, even with his clean vocals and his screaming vocals. Um, I wasn't sure if I enjoyed The Blade as much, but it still was a pretty good song. Just one of my least favorites. But still, the other songs that are on this album did phenomenal. So this was a pretty enjoyable album. But it made it at the top of the list due to the fact that I found there to be other albums that were a little better than this. So at number 53 is Scion with self-titled album. I think if I'm pronouncing it right. At number 52 is Ali and AJ with A Touch of the Beat, Gets You Up Off Your Feet, Gets You Out and Into the Sun. Now, this was a digital release that they did this year. I wish they had it on CD, but I guess not. I really enjoyed this album. The title Don't Need Nothing, I think, is one of them. Stomach, I really enjoyed. That was a really enjoyable track. Paradise, I really loved. Their vocals and harmonizing vocals. So was Listen. That was a really good song. There was a lot of enjoyable tracks off this album. The Pretty Places, I think, is called. Um, I don't remember if that's what it's named, but that was good. Uh, Break Yourself, I wasn't sure if I liked that one. It was one of my least favorites. But Slow Dancing was not a bad one. And there were some other tracks on the album that did very well. So, yeah. At number 52, I picked Ali and AJ with The Touch of the Beat. Gets you up off your feet, gets you out and into the sun. It's a long fucking title for an album, but it still was an enjoyable listen. So to shorten it, you can call it a Touch of the Beat album. At number 51 is Between the Buried and Me with Colors 2. Now, I enjoyed some moments in this album, but then there were some other songs that had this weird circus theme melody going for it, and I wasn't sure if I was liking it as much. And sorry, I'm messing with my Xbox One controller or whatever. Just trying to check if my best albums of 2021 part 1 video got uploaded, and it did. So yeah, Between the Buried and Me did a pretty amazing job on this album. I do like Human as Hell. That was a very good one. Then there's The Future is Behind Us. That one was one of my least favorites, but it didn't do too bad. Uh, then there was some other ones. I can't remember all the other tracks, but still, this album did pretty good for what it went for, and I'm surprised it made it in the top 50 of this album. This list best albums of 2021. It made it close to the top. It's in the top 50 somewhere in the 50 areas of the best albums on my list. So, at number 51 is Between the Buried and Me with Colors 2. Alright, at number 50 is Enrique Iglesias with Final Volume 1. Now, I enjoyed some of the tracks from it. This was a pretty nice album. And then there were some songs that had pretty catchy beats to it. But I don't remember all the tracks because I haven't really returned to this album as much. Move to Miami was not really my favorite song. It was one of the weaker songs on this album. I gave it like a 4 out of 5 or something like that. I don't remember. But I do remember me not liking it. So at number 50 is Enrique Iglesias with Final Volume 1. The other tracks on there were pretty much good. So at number 49 is Ginger with Wallflowers. Now, this was a banger of an album. Uh, her screams in it were very good. I really enjoyed it. For most of the track, the title track alone was pretty good. I don't remember all the songs to be honest, but I remember liking it, and it was an enjoyable listen. Please forgive me on my yawning. Um, I'm still trying to wake up a bit, but yeah, still enjoyed this album for what it went for. Can't remember all the songs from it, but the title track was pretty solid. I'm not sure if it's my favorite title track, but it still was an alright song. It was one of the standouts for this album, but the other songs did pretty good. I was surprised. So at number 49 is Ginger with Wallflowers. Alright, at number 48 is Seether with Wasteland the Purgatory EP. Now, this was a pretty good listen. I put it at this part of the list due to the fact that it's not one of the better albums, like the really good albums, because we're getting close to getting into the really good albums soon. Um, yeah, but still, this was an enjoyable listen of an album, of an EP, I meant to say. There's only like 5 songs on this EP. Uh, Feast or Famine was one of my favorites. I love Sean Morgan's screams in it. Sounds really good. Then there's some other tracks that this is a EP I'm gonna have to go back and listen to again because the title track Wasteland for this EP was pretty good. Even the alternate version was pretty nice. So enjoyable of a listen. So definitely go check out this EP for Seether Wasteland the Purgatory EP. So at number 48 is Seether with Wasteland the Purgatory EP. Alright, at number 47 is Luke Hemmings with When Facing the Things We Turn Away From. Now, this was an enjoyable album. I was actually going to plan on buying it one day, and then I saw Suicide Squad, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this album. I'm buying Suicide Squad. So I chose that album over, chose that movie over this album, unfortunately. But I know I should have bought Luke Hemmings' new album, but I just didn't have the money at the time. It was like $12 at Walmart, but I'll go somewhere else to find it. Uh, or maybe buy it there again. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But the Saigon track mentions the lyric when facing the things we turn away from. I really enjoyed that track. Starting line was pretty good. Motion was enjoyable of a track. Um, there were some other songs like Mum was not too bad. Beautiful Dream was one of my favorites. I love the electronic instrumentals and the sound effects in the song sound really good in that track. And it really shined very well with that song. So Luke Hemmings did a pretty good job on this album, and he made it on my best albums, for sure. So at number 47 is Luke Hemmings with When Facing the Things We Turn Away From. At number 46 is Rosé with R. Now, this has only 2 songs on it, so it's not really much of an album, but I still enjoyed the songs, the 2 songs from it. There's On the Ground and Gone. those two tracks were pretty solid. On the ground, I wasn't sure if I was feeling for, but it still did alright. And then there was Gone, and that was a pretty nice song with Rose singing in it. She is from the K-pop band, uh, K-pop group called Blackpink. I know if you're not a fan of K-pop, you probably won't like this artist's music. But hey, I still enjoyed this two-track album. So at number 46 is Rose with R. At number 45 is Chevelle with Nothing Is Real and This Is a Simulation. Or Neurodius is what it's actually called, but that's what it stands for. The Neurodius meaning. But I enjoyed So Long Mother Earth from this. Pete's vocals in this whole album are very phenomenal. Peach was another favorite of mine. I've grown to really like that song now. The Narcissist Conscience was one of my favorite lyrics to close the track out. And some of the lyrics are pretty fucking weird, honestly, and really gross. Who do you trust now? They'll take your arms now. They'll take your legs now. They'll take my hands. Kind of lyrics. It's pretty fucking weird lyricism, but yeah, there were some shorter tracks for this album. The first track being Verrucht, I think is what it's called. And that was an enjoyable track. But So Long Mother Earth was one of my favorite ones. My personal favorite tracks from this album. And then there was the final track, and that was him mostly talking. Pete's talking in it. And it didn't sound so bad. So at number 45, I picked Chevelle with Nothing Is Real and This Is a Simulation. I forgot to mention Self-Destructor and Mars Simula. Those were pretty good songs. So definitely go check those out. Sleep the Deep was very weird melody, honestly. So I do own this album, but I'd have to go to one of my boxes to get it out, and I might actually listen to this album again. And number 44 is Bullet for My Valentine with Self-Titled. This is going to be the last album I'll talk about, then I'll return to you for the next part. This was a pretty good album. Can't Escape the Waves, one of my favorite songs. Knives was very good. Shatter, one of my favorites. Rainbow Veins was pretty good, or at least solid, at least. Matt Tuck's vocals in this whole album and his scream vocals are pretty good for this whole album. And this album didn't do so bad. Bastards being the least favorite of mine, I gave that a 3.5 out of 5, and I stick by my rating. I wasn't a fan of this song. Sounded too cheery and anthemic kind of stuff. Like a rebellious anthemic kind of song, and I wasn't feeling for the vibe for the song. But still, the track was okay. It just wasn't my favorite. But Parasite was a great song. My Reverie, one of my favorites. No Happy Ever After was very good. And the final track was really good too. But Death by a Thousand Cuts is what it's called. So definitely go check this new Bullet for My Valentine album out. And that's going to be it for this list. At number 44 was Bullet for My Valentine with Self-Titled. And I will return to you for part 3 in a little bit for the best albums of 2021 video. It's going to be like sometime in a little bit because I got to go make some lunch very soon, very shortly. So I hope you enjoyed part 2 this time around, which is a better part, hopefully, if the sound quality's not messed up. So stay safe, take care, and I'll see you soon for part 3 of Best Albums of 2021 video.